ruined my life. I think it's on Discovery Plus right now. Probably on the Discovery Channel as well for the people at home who have cable. Basically, it's like really fucked up reenactments of people's ghost stories.
This is on Discovery Plus?
Yes.
I had never heard of this. Damn.
And then they have go ahead.
They're
Sorry.
all true stories?
Yes, all true stories.
Oh shit. I got a couple more. We got a couple more days of October in, so I gotta squeeze that in on my watch list.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty scary, in my opinion, because it's real.
Oh yeah, definitely check that out.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
Time for the fun to start. So, this week is a bonus episode, so you'll have still like our annual Halloween episode to look forward to. But our main focus for this one is Halloween Resurrection. I had to do it because we've never talked about it before, and it's such a terrible, terrible film. So we're going to tell you exactly why it's terrible, or why we think it's terrible tonight. It's rated R. It's from 2002. It's a slasher film, if you want to call it that. It runs at 1 hour and 30 minutes, and it's got a whopping 12% on Rotten. Written by Larry Brand and Sean Hood. Directed by Rick Rosenthal. Tragically. Starring Tyra Banks, Busta Rhymes, Thomas Ian Nicholas, Sean Patrick Thomas, Ryan Merriman, Bianca Kashlich, and of course Jamie Lee Curtis. The film returns to Haddonfield as we see Michael finally overcome his sister Lori and return to his childhood home to find it has been rigged for a crude internet reality TV show. With his young cast locked inside for a night, completely unaware of the very real danger that lurks within the shadows. If you're a fan of this series, you're probably aware its various ups and downs, but the majority of horror fans can agree that Halloween Resurrection is most certainly the worst of the worst. With its premise immediately picking up after the fatal conclusion of H2O, the reason for Michael's return was purely contractual, as producer Mustafa Akkad would not allow the screenwriters to kill Michael Myers legally. Believe it, it's true. Which answers the question of, was H2O supposed to be the end of the boogeyman? The reason why the conclusion feels so final and authentic was because that the only way Jamie Lee Curtis would actually shoot H2O would be that there would be absolutely no hints given towards the revival that would later become the ill-fated resurrection. So basically, if you consider H2O good or its conclusion, it's because Jamie Lee Curtis fought for that, which is crazy. The opening of Resurrection reveals to us that Michael had switched spots with the paramedic and walked off into the night. This footage was actually shot at the same time as principal photography ended for H2O, which is how it feels very flush in tone with that film. But going back to the film at hand, Resurrection starts off with Michael returning to finish off Lori while she's inside a psych ward. Although she is lucid and aware he is coming for her, he ultimately tricks her and she is killed off. Bummer. Which introduces us to a new and young cast who all seem kind of one-dimensional and or unlikable with a few exceptions. It's crazy to think that this was directed by the same person who directed Halloween Part 2, which is held in high regard by most, but Halloween 2 was the only horror film that Rick Rosenthal had worked on prior to this, and it certainly shows when you rewatch Halloween Resurrection. Trying to capture the internet and reality age of the early 2000s, the film very quickly loses steam as it struggles to stay afloat with mediocre cinematography, acting, and a failed new story attempt. After the film was released in the summer of 2002, it and critically panned by almost everyone. The follow-up was quickly cancelled, which means that Halloween Resurrection, ironically, was the death of the 8-film streak of the original canon. However, it did make a good chunk of change at the box office, somehow pulling in $37 million against a $15 million budget. Where did that $15 million budget go? I want to know. Alright. Overall, this entry acts more as a comedy than anything else. Going so far over the top, you'll be left wondering how this ever made it out into the world. The one thing that I can say as a positive is it does attempt to portray people of color in a pretty positive way, ditching some of the tired tropes that had become woven into the horror and slasher formula over the years. If you want to have a bit of cheesebag fun, or if you're one of the trolls who claims Halloween Kills suck so bad, we challenge you to return back to this film and see just how spoiled we really are. Resurrection is available now via AMC Plus. Thank you.
Bravo. Well said. No, like, right off the bat, like, just jumping into it, that flashback scene, like, no one notices this guy, this huge dude walking out with a big, like, the hugest kitchen knife, just walking right through the crime scene into the forest.
And also, I feel like it's really unlikely that Michael would have the opportunity before another EMT came into the room to change out of his... Think about it. Change out of his wardrobe, put on the paramedic's wardrobe, then grab that paramedic and put him in the Michael costume, all without somebody happening to walk away. Yeah, he crushed his larynx or whatever. Yeah, suspension of disbelief. I'll go with that. But how did he change? I don't know. They didn't flush that out too well. Like maybe if he dragged him somewhere else and not where everybody knew they were. You know what I mean? It's just so convenient there. Convenient writing.
Yeah, no, it's legit. Like it feels like they just like thought it up on the fly. Like that's how that scene. The movie feels like that, but that's how it feels.
It was, believe it or not, and he just came up with the kind of general idea. But, what's his name? Kevin Williamson, who wrote most of the Screams, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Teaching Mrs. Tingle, all this stuff. He came up with that kind of loophole as to why Michael was still alive. And it was basically because the screenwriters wanted to kill him. You know what I mean? Like that was kind of like the intent of the end of H2O, but then because the producers weren't down for that and they had like a multiple picture deal for Michael Myers to be in these movies, they had to come up with some reasonable way for him to be still alive, which if you want to call this reasonable, it's pretty far-fetched. Having said that, I think that's kind of like some of the better parts is them trying to answer that, and I guess maybe like the Laurie stuff is kind of like it's more competent than once we get into.
It's almost like two different movies. Like that's what it feels like. Like that first 20-25 minutes with Laurie, and then after that, after he kills her, and then you go into the rest of the movie. And I would have been happy if it was just that. Just give me like 25 minutes of that, and then cool, walk away, all good. But they decided to give us another hour and 15 minutes of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's like, okay, they build up like the sanitarium and the whole Laurie thing and like these characters in the sanitarium, and then you don't fucking see them ever again. I was just like, okay, like why do we spend this amount of time?
I think it's the first kill the first security guard, and then the second security guard goes and investigates. His head is inside like the dryer, right?
Yeah.
And then he notices the head and then like screams and then trips over the body. Like, how do you not see that big ass body there
first
before you even look into the dryer?
Yeah. It was just like, I always thought of that, like, you didn't see your buddy's decapitated body, like, again, Michael could have hit it because he was agile enough to be hiding in the rafters again.
He just like floats it on down, like,
yeah.
You know what that scene reminds me of? The fucking, the Prince skit in Chappelle Show when he dunks the ball and he just kind of floats down.
Game blouses.
Yeah, and then he goes and finds Lori and like just like Hulk smashes through the door like head first.
Oh yeah, let's talk about, and it's real quick, but what kind of shitty editing does it, alright, I don't know if you noticed because it's real quick, but like when he like looks into her room and it's like, how does he know? They never tell us how he knows that that's her room structurally, like how did you just know? But then he like smashes, I don't know if it was a reshoot or something, but he like smashes into, and we're seeing from his like POV, but it's like some shitty editing where it's like just shaking the screen, and then we cut back to him like just smashing through the door like it's nothing. And his hair is like different than like the other mask. I don't know if you noticed that, but it's like
I did notice.
It's like fluffed out, like
fluffier,
like teased out. But then, like, okay, it's teased out. He comes in, and she's made like a dummy person in the bed to make him think that she's unaware that he's there. And then he's about to stab her, and falls for it, and she hits him with the lamp. Fucking books it through the stairwell, goes to the rooftop. And he follows, and then she kind of stages this thing for him where he thinks that she's fallen over the side with her like gown or something there. So he goes over to check it out, Michael, and she's rigged this shit to kind of like grab his leg and pull him over the edge or whatever, and it works. She's got him dead to rights, and Michael, being the genius that he is, he remembers that he like psyched her out before in H2O, so he starts acting like the same way somehow that this other guy did. So she starts doubting herself, because she's suffered supposedly like psychological trauma from killing an innocent man. So then she's like, I gotta just be sure, even though Michael clearly has a giant ass butcher knife still in his hand. She tries to go and reach for his mask as if he's gonna let that happen. So then they tussle for a couple seconds and go over the edge, and Michael stabs Lori in the back, and she like kisses him, and she's like, I'll see you in hell. Which is kind of bizarre, because it's like, why would you go to hell, Lori? Like, what did you do wrong? I don't know. And he lets her go. Obviously, no remorse from Michael, and she falls down to the bottom of the sanitarium, which actually doesn't look like a very far drop to die. And supposedly, I guess I read that all those trees and shit that she falls through is all CGI, but it actually looks pretty good. It looks real.
Maybe that's where the other 14 million went.
Yeah. Oh man. It was just like, there's a certain amount of disrespect here towards like them killing her just like that. I don't know. It felt off. It felt like she wanted out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because she's only in that first like